Today I'm coming to you from yet another scenic location in the great state of Utah. My living room. There's a good chance you're watching this from home too. Let's call this virtual learning. We're using online tools to interact with each other. And whenever we're using online tools, there's going to be questions about what data are being collected, who are we sharing it with, and how are we keeping it safe. In this video, we'll answer some questions regarding how the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, applies to using online tools for virtual learning. We'll also talk about some general privacy tips, even if FERPA doesn't require them. Also note that schools and districts may pass stricter requirements than these. So we recommend that educators always check with their IT department or administration before adopting any new online tools. FERPA requires written parental consent before information is disclosed from student education records. But you know, just because a class is happening online doesn't mean anything's being disclosed from an education record. For example, there is generally no disclosure from education records if a teacher is merely posting a video to YouTube. There may also be an exception to the written consent rule that the school may follow, such as school official or directory information. Schools may designate certain information as directory information, or information that is essentially harmless. Many resources may only require basic directory information, such as a student's name or email address. And this information may be shared in accordance with your directory information policy. If the website is providing a service the school would otherwise use its own employees for, then the school official exception may be used. This will require ensuring that the education records shared are under the direct control of the school in regards to their use and maintenance. Generally, this means you're going to want to check the website's terms of service and privacy policy. For example, you'll want to ensure that the website doesn't claim perpetual ownership over the student's information. The website should also be prohibited from redisclosing or selling student information to other parties. Web conferencing software may be used since, in general, educators don't disclose information from education records during class. Nevertheless, educators will want to take extra steps to ensure that access to the virtual class is secure. For example, educators should not post the hyperlink to access the virtual class in a public place, like on social media. Otherwise, anyone could get access to the class and potentially disrupt it. Sharing the link over official channels, such as your work email or an approved LMS, is the better option. In general, yes, students may appear on camera. However, there are several practical tips you'll want to recommend to parents and students. For example, consider what is directly behind you and captured by the web camera. Everyone will be able to see that or any people or activities happening behind you. I tidied up a little bit. It's usually a lot messier in here. Students should know how to mute their microphones and stop their web cameras, especially if they need to go to the bathroom. In fact, it's a good idea for educators to learn how to control this functionality themselves. For example, the host of a web conference may have the ability to mute all participants upon entering the room. And you may also want to control the chat functionality so that students don't misuse it. The decision of who can observe a virtual classroom is a local decision, the same as it would be for an in-person classroom. Virtual classes may be recorded. However, we recommend that educators make efforts to minimize the amount of time that students appear on screen. Educators should also notify parents and students before the recording begins. Some software will automatically do this. Otherwise, the educator should clearly announce that the recording is about to begin. It is also recommended to be upfront and transparent with students and parents about the purpose of the recording, who will be able to see it, how long it will be kept before it'll be deleted, and how they can access the recording. Technically, this could be permitted by your school's directory information policy. So long as you check that policy first, and then check that nobody's opted out, it likely doesn't constitute a FERPA violation. Your school may also have a social media policy which might be stricter, so you'll want to check with your administration first. With that said, it's still a good idea to ask yourself, what's the least amount of information I need to share? For example, Who is this disclosure for if you're posting it to Twitter? Random people who look for strangers on Twitter? If it's for your students, consider posting it to your LMS where only they can see it. Or send the image out in an email to parents. And if you're posting something to YouTube, consider marking it as unlisted so that only those with the link can actually find it. This is actually part of the larger conversation of when is it exactly appropriate to have one-on-one conversations with students in general. So educators should review their schools or district's relevant ethics and professional standards policies first. Otherwise, one-on-one conversations should generally occur over approved, official communication channels. This could mean your LMS or an approved web conferencing tool. But you may not want to communicate over social media or using your personal phone number. Some best practices to consider are holding virtual office hours. Just choose a time and say, I'll be there to answer any questions. Another best practice is logging all one-on-one communications. Note the start and end time and the content of the conversation. You may even want to record the conversation. Either way, make the notes or recording available to parents and students to review afterwards. You know, this demonstrates really well how both virtual learning and privacy thrive on openness and transparency. Students are allowed to know who their classmates are and how to get in touch with them. Parents may request the contact information of their students' classmates, and schools may generally give it to them. In all cases, a school may disclose a student's name and email address to a classmate. They may also disclose a student's phone number, so long as they haven't been opted out of directory information. If you have additional questions about anything we haven't covered in this video, please reach out to us at privacy@schools.utah.gov.